Okay, I lied. Um, Let me kind of rediscuss how that Abyss run went, okay? Now, I believe I was in Red Lotus at the time when that Abyss run came up, okay? But basically, this is how it was. Type counters had a 20% increase. Now, there are 5 different types in Honky Impact aside from elemental damage and physical damage, okay? So you have Mecha, which counters Bio, which counters Psychic, and Psychic, which counters Mecha. And then you have Quantum, which counters itself, and then Imaginary, which counters itself. And Quantum and Imaginary have like a down effect toward each other. Now, the damage increase for the upside is 30%. And obviously, the reverse is a 30% decrease in damage. Okay? So, my physical range team is Bio, pretty much. The entire team is Bio. Now, the boss for this Abyss run was a Mecha. So, obviously, they were being countered. Which I figure usually isn't much of a big deal in Honky Impact. Like, I've gotten into an argument with a Girls Frontline community where it's like, oh, you need these specific units to, or, these specific type of units to deal with counters. And it's like, you really don't. If you know how to play the game properly, you really don't need counters. Now, except for situations where you have a lot of damage that you need to deal. And this is what surprised me. Okay, when it comes to Abyss and Memorial Arena, the bosses actually have resistances towards elemental and physical damage sometimes as well. So this boss was Fuwa. Fuwa has a high resistance, not an immunity, but a high resistance to all elemental damage. So you would think, even though I have this counter of her being a mecha, well, it's fine because, my team is dealing physical damage. No. I bring in my lightning team, which is my strongest team in the entire game, and I do better with them. Keep in mind, yes, they're getting the extra, counter effects, because I think the way it works with the Abyss is basically, I don't think it goes from 30 to like 36. I think it goes from 30 to 50%, right? Because the type counter effects are basically increased by another 20%. And, that's kind of how I read it. So, basically meaning my lightning team, because they're pretty much all psychic type, they were getting a 50% damage increase, but Fuwa had a high lightning damage resistance, which I think the high end of the damage resistance goes up to like 70 or 90% damage reduction for that damage type. So I figured my lightning team would deal less damage. No, they dealt way more damage. And I was just sitting there like, what the fuck is this shit? Right? Now, here's where the problem comes in. Do you know why those effects were there? Why it was a type counter of plus 20%? Oh, well, let's see. Elysia just so happens to be a psychic unit too. She also happens to be physical damage. So we have a boss unit that is a mecha that gets countered by psychic. And then she's also highly resistant to elemental damage, making physical damage a priority to bring. Yeah, so basically that Abyss run was made, or should we say, rerun specifically for Elysia. Oh, and guess who the recommended Valkyries were? She was the leader. Elysia was the leader. And for those of you that don't play Honky Impact, the same thing happened when Kaza came out. They buffed Animo damage, and in that same Spiral Abyss run, they made Animo damage priority. Basically, if you were using Animo damage and managed to hit like swirl attacks or whatever, you would get like a 300% damage buff. mihoyo. This is direct pay to win. This isn't just, oh, I'm getting thrown into a bunch of PvP lobbies and everybody's beating me because people just so happen to get lucky in the gacha. In PvP gacha games, even free-to-play players sometimes get lucky and manage to get on the top of the leaderboards for a month or two. But this is different. Okay? This is every single banner. It's like you need the banner unit or you're not going to be able to do the stage. Now, obviously, you can use alternatives, right? Like, if Hesher of Thunder comes back up on the banner and there's a lightning damage round, right? You can use a weaker lightning team, like, Darkbolt Jonin or whatever, right? Or like when Hesher Flamesion came out, I was still using my original fire team because they're my only alternative right now, right? But at the same time, it's like Elysia, at least for AoE damage, she deals a load of damage. And I've seen her in co-op mode. She deals so much more damage on her own than Hesher the Void could ever do. Whether it's against a full team or not. And that's the problem. Especially since for both more specifically Hunky Impact, if you don't have a character's weapon, and I mean their exact weapon, not just some random 4-star weapon. No, if you don't have their exact weapon, and if you don't have it pre-armed, if it can be pre-armed, they will do dog shit worth of damage. Compared to Genshin Impact, where I feel comfortable throwing on a 3-star weapon, and my characters can deal decent damage because they have decent artifacts. You don't even really need a character-specific artifact set. People complaining about Yoimiya being useless, throw in a pyro damage set. She looks like a pretty decent pyro damage user. Throw that on. Screw the set that they made for her. If it sucks, it sucks. I mean, it's just as simple as that. Right? But yeah. Now we can move on to the next part.
What have you done? I saw that! Those poor ducks! It was for the pigeons. Go away! I never want to see you again! Ever! I'm telling Mommy!